everyone. Thank you, Christy, for the introduction. I'm Claudia, and I am your moderator today for our panel session. So some of the leadership traits that we heard earlier on in the event includes demonstrating courage, communicating effectively and frequently, getting your hands dirty, and being willing to adapt to changing times. Sir David was a prime example of all of these leadership traits. He embraced technology. He was always willing to keep up with the trends so he can connect with the world and people digitally. And that is also why we have our 4 speakers here today. They each come from a really different industry background, but all possess a lot of the leadership traits. So we're really happy to have you here to speak with us on your leadership style and how our future leaders can adapt and demonstrate change. So let's start off with getting to know them a little bit more. Andy, if you don't mind kicking us off and telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Claudia, thank you. First of all, I'm honored to be associated with this event because I think I identify what Sir David tries to do in his lifetime, giving his time for young people and doing extremely selfless, meaningful acts. I certainly identify with a lot of the characteristic of leadership. You know, to me, I'm in the IT industry for close to 40 years. And close to 20 years, I've been spending my time at the airport. So being in the technology field, I feel very humble because over that 40 years, I've witnessed numerous revolutions. And basically, I have to learn and relearn again. In fact, I'm a student now again. So I think one of the characteristics of this very volatile world is that it's changing forever. And I think one characteristic that I would certainly identify with a lot of leaders is that the continuous learning, if you like, mentality. And secondly, being in the technology field, I think speaking on behalf of a lot of my colleagues, we sacrifice a lot. You know, I think a lot of people don't want to be in technology because it's a lot of detail work. It doesn't pay so well. But as you know, the foundation of today's modern society, you just cannot get away from digital technology. So I think the idea of contributing, not counting the returns, and really, if you like, putting your hearts to the work is very important. And thirdly, lastly, I think being a leader is not about yourself. I think the focus is on, the people that you want to serve or lead, in that sense. Leaders do the things that people don't want to do. You have a group of people, things are uncertain, and you're unsure, and then the leaders step up and try to contribute and try to, add value. So I truly identify with the theme of timeless leadership, and I think with our role model as Sir David, who step up and do the things that he is right, and sacrificing his time and his thinking and helping other people certainly resonates with me a lot.
Thank you, Andy. How about Esther?
Well, also I'm honored to be one of the panelists here today. And I remember when I was doing pro bono PR for Wu Ziqiao and also Beam International, I remember one time Sir David came up to me after numerous events. He said to me, "You're doing good things. You have a good heart." So I think, to be a really good and effective leader has to be one with empathy and great compassion. And what I like to share is that, these days we all talk about gender equality, and I'm a strong advocate of gender equality. I always say that, effective female leaders have to be feminine on the outside, but masculine in the inside. This is the best mix of grit and grace. In fact, I also, like to consider myself as actually very manly, macho in the inside. Like Brian, I'm a triathlete. I play a lot of golf. I actually play a lot of men's sports. I'm actually a really fast player on the golf course, so a lot of guys love playing with me. And I'm also, running two businesses. I run my own PR company, Prestige, and also a sports management and education company, Harvest Sky, where I manage 36 athletes. So to be a really effective female leader nowadays, I think we have to be a good listener. I always say that we have to inspire by being a good role model. We have to innovate by coming up with new ideas to empower our team. And we also have to integrate our daily lives into our work. For example, to my team of colleagues, I always tell them, I'm not only your boss, I'm also your mentor, your confidant, your pseudo-mom. So come to me. I always have an open door policy. You can come to me for any professional questions or personal questions, whether it's related to your boyfriend or husband or kids. I'm always here to listen, and I'm always here to give you a solution. And in fact, with my colleagues, I've been their wedding coordinators twice. I MC their weddings, I sang at their weddings, I help the kids get into their dream schools, so on and so forth. So I think nowadays, given that both male and female leaders, if we have the same intelligence level, if we have the same visionary perspective, I think a woman leader with empathy, with compassion, with foresight will be a little bit more effective than our counterparts. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. And with that, on women in leadership, Brian, what are your thoughts on the different leadership styles that a woman may have and perhaps a man may have?
I think I echo a lot with what Esther is saying. I think being a leader nowadays, having empathy, ability to listen are very important. The world is changing so quickly. I think it's important to, as a leader, to define a purpose for whatever you're doing, and then you can use you communicate with your team, and then sharing them that purpose, and then leading them to where you want to be. But nowadays, I think compassion and empathy has to come first, because everything needs to with meaningful sort of purpose, and very often that's the departure point. So yeah, that's what I think it's important. I think that's very much what Sir David is really about, having that compassion for those less privileged, and then driving a vision forward, and then through that process you can lead a group of people not only using their head but also their heart. And I think when you engage people's heart, it's become very powerful, and I think that has always been a time-proven way to engage.
And so with compassion and empathy being such an important leadership trait, Vincent, I know you've worked in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Do you think culture also has anything to do with your leadership style? And how does empathy and compassion come into play?
Oh, totally. Well, thank you for asking that question, because culture is definitely a big element when it comes to understanding leadership. Because a large part of leadership is about connecting with the mass. And a large part about connectivity is whether you're trusted by the people that you're dealing with. And trust is an element of building rapport, and understanding the cultural differences certainly is a big thing when it comes to understanding and building the rapport. But at the end of the day, I think, even when we're talking about culture, we reference about women in leadership. We need more women leaders. We need better cultural connectivity, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, it is really about being able to really break through those stigmas. In this society nowadays, we're faced with a lot of political differences, social unrest that has stigmatized a lot of groups that are not necessarily privileged, so to speak. So it really calls for the right type of leaders to really step up and be that empathetic, really good listening, and really using the cross-cultural skills, break down the barriers, break down those unnecessary filters that are stopping people from shining their best. And in a way, that's how the reason why I selected coaching as my calling, because every good leader needs to be like Sir David, knowing how to coach and lead from that